Hello. Good
Hello.
morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or
Good
good night.
afternoon. Good evening. Goedemorgen, goedemiddag, goeie.
Avond.
And hello, Anjin. I don't know how to help you with your message there that you got. I hope that
There
this
already
is
like
live
2
for
hours
you.
ago.
Yeah.
So I hope she's
We'll
good.
check back later. So now we are live.
Yeah.
Hi, Rosalind. We go live at 11. Okay, yeah, it thinks that you are in the Eastern time zone.
It knows. For me, its announcement was that it was 5 p.m. So
Yeah, well, this is what it does, Rosalind.
really nice.
It is intelligent, so it gives you the local time where you are, and you're on the East Coast. So that's what it tells you. It tells me that we're going live at 10 o'clock because it is 10 o'clock here. If I was in California, it would say I'm going live at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And hi, Nelly.
Hello, all, says Raj.
And hi, Yolanda.
Morgen, guten Mittag.
Yes.
Hi, Yolanda. You said hi now. Oh, I missed Nelly. Hi, Nelly.
I don't know who else I missed.
Yeah, well, Yolanda is here with us now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Crucibles of yoga. Yoga. First, the word crucible is simply a word for container. It's a fancy word for container. And when I was first hearing a particular usage of the word crucible was when I was in university not so long ago. I was in a university program on transpersonal counseling psychology. And so the concept
3 decades ago.
I know it's hard to believe. It was
a little while ago you made.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. It was in the early mid 1980s. Holy cow!
I was just like in my diapers.
Yeah, you were in diapers. Wah, 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 nah, 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 nah.
Hi, Inika.
Hi, Inika. Inika knows something about that, I imagine.
About diapers, he does.
Yeah, about diapers. Yeah. And so anyway, we were introduced to the notion of crucibles in the sense of doing therapy with people. And it's simply the notion of container. So what is a crucible? If two people are sitting in a room together, having a counseling session or a psychology session together, the crucible, the container, is a room and a couple nice chairs, and you're sitting there having a conversation. It's the container in which you do that. If you were doing some behavioral training of people, it may be in a classroom or something like that. I am reminded in making the parallel that I'm trying to build up to the idea of crucibles of yoga. And so we are sitting in a big box here with another little box on top of it. This is called ashram. Well, this box, this container, this crucible is the crucible of this ashram.
Hi, Roho. And also B flipping by, I think. B is saying hello too.
B said hi.
Yes.
Hi, B. And Ro is telling us about and Raj is telling us about diapers, and Roho is sending us hearts. And now Roho is sending us, I don't know what they are.
For me.
They're what?
They're boxes.
They're boxes. She's sending us little crucibles. Anyway.
No, Rosalind, you're just in time.
No, you're not too late. Just perfect. We were just getting started talking about crucibles. And so there is a container next to us in the building beside us that is a restaurant. On the other side of the ashram is a car oil change and tune-up place. On the other side of us is a furniture store. On the other side of that is a donut store. On the other side of that is a dentist. And on the other side of that is a hotel. Hello from Rishikesh. Tara is in Rishikesh. Anyway, so the notion is one of what do you do in a container? Well, if I go into the restaurant, I do not look down the menu and order up an oil change, do I? Mm-hmm. I do not walk into the container of the restaurant and order up a new set of living room furniture. I do not go into the Crucible, the container called furniture store, and order lunch. So there's a relationship between what we do in a particular container and a particular crucible. And what we really ideally want to do, we all know this. I'm just putting a language to something that we all know but probably have never thought about before. Yes. Yeah, you talk about you. Why do you talk about me? That's got a lot more exciting stuff than talking about me. But anyway. So there's a relationship between the activity that you're going to do and the container in which you do it. And I'm acknowledging we all know this. Whoops, let me put Ma up here. So
I was not there all along?
You were there, but your name was not there. Now your name is there. And so now people know who you are. Anyway. Yes. So there's a relationship between the container and what you do in that container. And so if there's a certain something you want to do, then you choose the container in which you want to do it. You choose the crucible. I can tell you one time about 10 years ago, I was on my bicycle riding down the road on the way to the office of my dentist, teeth, you know, and I suddenly had this thought. I go to my dentist for my teeth. I do not go to my dentist to gain information about the path of enlightenment or any other purpose. I go to him only because of teeth. That's what we have in common. I go into his place, his container, his crucible, because the subject matter of that crucible is teeth. It's not about car tune-ups. It's not about furniture. You know, it's not about restaurants, unless he's telling me not to eat sugary food, which is possible. But it's a container. And so I'm riding my bicycle thinking about this, and I said, this has tremendous relevance to all of us. In the world in which you and I live, there is a common perception of the nature of what is yoga. We all know this. Our cultures have a perception of yoga, and it has something to do, does it not, normally, with a room full of people. It may be 5 people, it may be 50 people, it may be 100 people. It may have the heater turned on, or it may be cool. And somebody is in front of the room taking on the role of teacher, and you got all these other people out in the room who are following the instructions of the person in the front of the room. That is an activity that goes on inside of a container or a crucible, commonly called yoga studio. There's nothing wrong with that because there's a perfect alignment. The people have all the perception, a conception of what this is about. There's a conception of what this is about, and we go to that place, and in that place, we do this kind of activity. Everything is in alignment. Now, Raj just wrote another one down there. If not, then it's Hindu religion. Well, this is another example of a crucible, of a container. another container. If you go into a temple, a big building with spires poking up into the air, and the sign out front says, now, when I've living in India, I don't know that I ever saw a Hindu temple that said Hindu temple. You see them in the U.S., in the United States, and probably in Europe, because the people have left India. The diaspora, they call the people, leave India and they go to a city. They go to Miami or Chicago or New York or Los Angeles or Amsterdam. They go somewhere else in the world, and the people don't have a particular temple to their particular deity, so the people will often get together. You go into some of these temples that are not in India, and in the front of the room, they have 5 or 10 or 15 different statues to different deities, because there's not enough people of one deity that they can all have their own temple. So they merge together and they have one temple, and they call it the Hindu temple. And so over there is Krishna and Radha, and over there is a statue of some version of what?
Ganesh,
There's
Shiva.
a Ganesh over there, and there's a Shiva. And anyway, so you have the pantheon of deities. Well, when you go into that container called Hindu temple, you go into that crucible, there are certain kinds of activities that go on there. Predominantly, you do not go into the container labeled Hindu temple and go to a typical modern Western postural yoga class. They just do different things there. And so what you do is, with the container, question, ponder what it is that we keep talking about over and over and over again. We talk about meditation. We talk about contemplation. We talk about all of this antakarana business, manas, chitta, ahamkara, and buddhi, and the indriyas, and self-awareness, and all of these things that we just keep talking about over and over and over. What is the container in which we do those kind of activities? The container in which we do those activities is not called temple. I mean, you can call it temple, but stick with me for a minute. It's not temple in the physical sense of temple. It's not modern gymnasium or modern yoga studio. The container in which we do these practices that we're talking about is this container. This is the container. This is the crucible. Now, in our common language, we will say things like go inside. And in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali actually talks about the boundary line of the container moving inward. So when I first work with my body, I may walk into the room to do the practices. But now, I, as me, am in the room, and I'm doing some postures to prepare for my meditation. And when I sit down on my butt to do my meditation, and I'm aware of my body, and then when I am aware of my breath, what is the container that the breath is inside of? The container, the crucible that my breath is inside of, is this physical body. So this is the container, and what's going on inside of that is the motion of prana, whether it's flowing up or down, or it's the awareness here, or any of the other awarenesses of prana. Now, you all know this. Here's our little friendly little picture. There's a body, then there's breath, and there's a mind. If I actually succeed in going from here through here, and now I'm actually being very aware of my mind, What is the crucible in which I am being aware of my mind? The container is no longer the room. The container is no longer the physical body. The container is the breath. The boundary line between in here and out there is this boundary line of the intersection between the breath and the mind. Chiropraxis. Hello, chiropraxis. I'm sure I'm massacring your name, not intended. I don't think I've ever met you, and I don't know how pronunciation. Chiropraxis, is that approximately close? And later I'll come back and click on your page and see what you reveal to us about who you are and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if we may, huh? Matri is smarter than me about names and things like that. Okay. Well, welcome anyway.
Speak it with a French accent.
Say again, Ma?
So we say the name with a French accent.
You say it.
No, I don't know how to. I'm not that good.
I don't know how to either. And I know how to say Maja. Welcome, Maja. To see, now I know that's Maya.
Yeah. Hi, Maya.
J is Ya. Maya. Hi, Maya. Anyway, what I'm playing with is that when we talk about the crucible, the container of what you and I are doing most of the time, first, the container is the physical body. Now, the container may be the room. It may be your own house in your bedroom where you do your practices. But the actual container of the sadhana is inside of the body. And then when you move inward, the boundary line of the container of the crucible moves inward. If you succeed in getting to yoga nidra and exploring the samskaras that are here, the outside walls of the crucible is the conscious mind. Sometimes we have talked about this metaphor of the ocean, and on the surface of the ocean there are waves. Well, if you drop down under the surface of the ocean, you're sitting down on the bottom of the ocean. You don't feel the impact of the waves. In your scuba tank, you can look up with your mask and you can see the waves up there, but you are down here, in which case the crucible, the container in which you are doing that sadhana, that experience, the container is the fluctuations of the conscious mind. The chittas, the vrittis that are in the chitta. Anyway, I'm just playing that. I'm dragging you through that to notice that the container moves inward and moves inward and moves inward, the boundary line. But the subject matter, so to speak, of this container called ashram, this is not a restaurant. This is not a furniture store.
Bed and breakfast. Or
it's not a bed and breakfast. It's not a tune-up shop for your car. It's not a dentist office. Whatever you call what?
So that's why my car has not gotten fixed.
That's why Rojo says, so that's why my car has not been repaired yet. Yes, Rojo, keep waiting. But the adjacent crucible is the tune-up shop. They will work on your car. And you can go to the restaurant and eat while they're working on your car, or go beside there and go buy some new furniture. Anyway, what I'm trying to get us to play with is the notion of crucibles. And the dominant crucible in which you and I do the practices that we know as yoga, the container in which we do it is inside of here. Now, the bricks and mortar, the physical building container that we do this more often than not, is a place like an ashram. Or you can call it a meditation center. You can put meditation outside the building. Now, a rare few of people are actually doing this kind of yoga inside of the Crucible container called Yoga Studio. Not many, but some. And so using this as a starting point, what is the nature of the container we're going into? We have noticed sometimes that when people come to pop up at our ashram for the first time, you know, they're a visitor, they've looked at the website and said, wow, this is what I have been looking for. This is fabulous. I love what you people are doing. You know, Tara says, you know, I've been talking to you, to people about you and what you're doing. So people show up and say, I've heard from Tara, and so here I am to visit this place. But a funny thing happens. When you walk into the Crucible, the container of our meditation room, the first time that you're in there, it probably feels very relaxing. You say, wow, this is a really spiritual place. I can feel the Shakti in the air. And then after a little while of time, it goes a few visits or a few weeks or a few months. Sometimes it takes a year or two. And all of a sudden, this person is frustrated and irritated and an emotional wreck. And they're angry. And all sorts of problems are coming up. Why? Because it is the nature of this crucible called meditation room that it tends to remove the veils between the conscious and the unconscious mind. So we have this starting image that meditation is all sweet and bliss bunnies and unicorns.
Rainbows and unicorns, indeed.
What? And unicorns and what?
Rainbows.
Rainbows and unicorns, and everything is beautiful. And then we find the shock. And more often than not, when a person goes through this, more often than not, they are not aware of the phenomenon. They are not aware of it. It's just that all of a sudden I'm feeling like crap and I'm angry, and it must be somebody's fault. Who is it out there that is making me angry? Well, the one who is making me angry is obviously this crucible. It's this ashram, it's this meditation room, it's these people here who are running this place. These are the people making me upset. And we don't see that it is our own unconscious. Now, the reason I dragged you through that little story is that when this happens, it happens because of the nature that we have of the crucible we have walked into. You're probably not going to feel that way by walking into the donut store. You may feel a tummy ache from eating a lot of bad, unhealthy donuts, but you're probably not going to get mad at the donut baker and like that. Anyway, again, I'm just speaking openly of storytelling about the nature of the crucible. But if we are practicing yoga in the traditional sense of yoga, where do we do these practices? Do we do it only in an ashram? Do we do it only sitting on our butt in our own home, on our favorite chair or favorite cushion on the floor? Is that where we do this?
Donut shop.
Do we do it in the donut shop? And Joe just showed up. So Joe says, yes, we even practice yoga in the donut shop.
Yes.
So notice that if you're in the donut store, you're practicing mindfulness, you're paying attention, you're being aware of your samskaras, your attractions, your aversions, the scent of the donuts, the smell of the cooking grease, the smell of the seasonings in the air, the smell of the coffee brewing.
It's easier the ashram. It's good to go to the donut shop.
Anyway, so we, all of us, move throughout many, many containers. What yoga do you do when you leave your home in the morning and you get on your bicycle or you get in your car and you find your way to your job and you go into the place of your employment, your work? What do you do there with your yoga? Do you put it in your pocket and forget it? Or do you do a different aspect of yoga when you are in that place? Inika says, hi, June. Inika didn't say hi, June. I said hi, June. Inika says, witness everything. And June says, here, 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 here. And so if you're witnessing everything in the middle of your job, what face or aspect of yoga is that commonly called?
Karma.
Karma yoga. Yes, so we do the karma yoga. We're doing yoga. We're doing awareness. We're doing selfless service right in the middle of our activities on the job. Meditation in actions.
I thought so. She was meaning to say we practice here, wherever we are.
Here. Not, she wasn't saying here. We practice here. Yes. Right in the middle of, where did I have it?
With the, having the,
In the donut store or the job, wherever we are. And so the crucible, I'm playing with this word crucible. So I walked you through what is the crucible. What container do you go into if you want your car worked on? Obviously the furniture store, right? No, you go to the tune-up store. If you want lunch, where do you go? The furniture store, the tune-up shop? No, you go to the restaurant. Or if you want whole food, plant-based, you come to the ashram. Different humorous story. So I started out with us talking like that, but then I said, but wait a minute. What if we are a yogi and we are trying to practice these principles? Can I stay at home constantly? Can I stay living on my meditation seat 24 hours a day? No, we cannot do that. Gurvinder says, karma. Yes, karma. Karma. And so we take our crucible with us. So if you and I know that the crucible in which we do our yoga is inside of this person called me, and that yoga is not merely something that is done either in a temple or in a church or in a gymnasium, if you and I know that, then we are taking our crucible with us, because the crucible is me. At me as a totality person. So in that sense, my human body is a temple.
yes.
My human body is a yoga studio. And it goes with me wherever I go.
An ashram.
An ashram. This is the ashram. This is the temple. This is the yoga studio. Okay, now, Ma, you can start to make this simple and say something wise.
Now, I just want to say words that come up is on top of that is that to realize that this is the ashram, or this is the studio, this is the shrine, this is the holy sacred place which we go to do pilgrimage to, or the Himalayas are here, is that also then to realize that what we're looking for is already inside. It is already dwelling.
Not to interrupt, but briefly, sometimes the crown chakra is called Mount Meru.
Mount Meru, yes.
The pinnacle of the Himalayas is the crown of the head.
Yes. So
Go on. I just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And so to realize that what we are, what we think we're going to attain, which is, of course, it cannot be attained because it's already here, but where we think we're seeking and we're doing the effort for is already here, and we are everywhere carrying that with us. And it's metaphors come up from the Tripurvahasya that it's like a house, and underneath it, the house, the treasure is buried, or we're wearing a necklace, but we are looking for it out there and forgetting that it's already here. So we think we need to go to another crucible, to a specific crucible, to find it there.
Yes.
And so I think the comment, that I just, so on top of that is realizing that this is the asana studio, and what I'm looking for or at asana studio. This is the real yoga studio, and what I'm looking for is buried in the cave of the heart.
In here, yes.
Here. And so, if this is the Himalayas and this is the cave of the heart, Atman dwells in that innermost cave. This is the Himalayan cave in which we can really sit in silence and darkness wherever we are. And also when we are at the dentist chair and doing groceries and going to the gym and getting our car fixed.
Yeah, and I have also thought of the dentist as being the great equalizer.
Yeah, you've shared that, sir. That's a great.
It doesn't matter how important you are, how famous you are, how much money you have. When you're sitting in the dentist chair with your mouth open and those instruments in your mouth, all people are equal. I think of the dentist.
Very fortunate with good teeth.
Yeah, well, that's your good karma.
That's a good karma indeed.
But it's still the great equalizer, playfully said.
I know, I was just teasing.
But the thing that Ma was talking about there is sort of the whole core principle of why I wanted us to have this chat about the crucibles of yoga.
Yeah.
I don't talk about this very much, but this principle is one of the most important principles that I carried around for many, many years. It was one of the most important principles that I encountered, was learned, was taught, is this notion of the crucible. And that this container is always, as June said, here. It's always here, regardless of where I go. I can go into any church, any temple, any mosque, any business, any city, any country, anywhere in the world. And the crucible in which I do yoga goes with me. No exception. And it provides a tremendous perspective. Joe is sitting, though, there hiding behind the crucible of his dark glasses over there. I wish I could show you.
The light is so bright.
The light is so bright. The glowing in this crucible of the ashram living room. The light is so bright that he can't take it. He has to put on his dark glasses.
There is something to that, though, Simon Z, as you know, is that when a crucible really has done a lot of practice and Atman is realized in the sense that is what is, then being an approximate of that crucible is beneficial for just remembering that there's some magic.
Let's say that again, to be in the opposite.
Approximate distance, to be nearby such a crucible is a blessing in a sense, because it helps.
Yeah, if we take our crucible that is me and put it there.
Yes. I mean, it's not to, of course, eventually it doesn't matter, but sometimes it helps to sit in that meditation room, or sometimes it helps to be in your presence. And I don't want to lift you up on this high pedestal so you fall off quickly, but it does help to hang out with people who, and amongst all of us, I can even feel it now online with all the people that we're together with that I know are, in the way they're doing it, doing some of these practices or all of these practices or whatever intensity of these practices. And so
the satsang
joining of crucibles is a joy.
Is the form of crucible.
Yeah, joining in crucibles is a joy.
Yes, so I'm
very much looking forward to spending some time with a bunch of Dutchies soon again, who said they were going to join in a crucible together for 10 months, for example. It's a joy.
We had a little satsang last night by Facebook video messenger with Claudine and about, 10 or 12 people and they're in Peru.
Yes.
And it was a very
group there.
Huh?
Their group that she's helping there.
Yes, well, it's a group of friends. They've known each other for 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
Very long time. And Claudine is just being sort of a centerpiece of it. But anyway, so we had a little crucible. We had a little satsang there last night for
Beautiful.
an hour or so, and it was very pleasant. So it's
And
choiceful of the containers of the crucible in which I want to take my container and put myself. Example, for the restaurant that I said is next door to the ashram, I have never eaten in that restaurant. A couple times I have walked in the door and looked at the menu to see if they have any food that is healthy. So that if the time ever came that we were in a rush and wanted to grab a quick meal, that we could use that restaurant. And the couple times that I've been there and looked in their menu, I find absolutely zero. I find no food on their menu that is healthy. So we've been here in this ashram, what now, 8 years, something like that, 8, 9 years?
8 years.
And I've never eaten in that restaurant, and at the rate it's going, never will.
Excuse me.
And have never eaten in the Kentucky Fried Chicken that's on the corner beside it. I have had my car get an oil change in the car shop, though.
It's a different thing.
I walked in.
The operating word is oil.
Oil. The operating word is oil. Oil goes in my car, not in my body.
Oil.
How do you like that, Rojo? That's a pretty good way to put it, isn't it? Rojo, you got it? You can use this. Oil goes in my car, not in my body. Got it? All right. Okay. Rojo's got it. She'll be preaching it now to her
But
patient.
definitely with all the dentist karma that she's going through.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
It's not fun.
No. And Wouter just posted something which I think
Is this body the container of Atman, or is Atman the container of the body? Can I go somewhere when Atman is anywhere? Now, I know you can philosophically play with this, Wouter, and we could go back and forth on this and have wonderful intellectual debates on this. But when you are playing the saxophone, whose lips are on the reed blowing? Is that Wouter? Is Wouter playing the saxophone? I know philosophically we can say, well, it's Atma behind Wouter. But it's the simple awareness that the starting point is that there is a Wouter who is playing the saxophone. That totality of Wouter has a body. And Wouter, I know, thinks of Wouter as being the one playing the saxophone. If you're in front of the audience and you're playing and you do a nice little series of beautiful music coming out, and somebody says, let's put it all up, let's put our hands together for Wouter. Are you going to stand there and say, no, it's not me, it's Atman? Audience, stop clapping. You're not going to hit them with that philosophy. You know that they're talking to you as a totality of Wouter. You know that Wouter is the container, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on inside the container called Wouter, the effect of which is playing beautiful music out of the saxophone. You already know that, correct? And so can we also say that, okay, well, Atman is the whole of infinity and Brahman and all that, so therefore everything is contained within that? Yes, well, okay, fine, we can do that. But I beg of you, please, let's use our intelligence to understand the conversation at hand and what we are saying. There's a difference between walking in the door of the ashram meditation room and walking in the donut store. And if we are so confused that we don't understand that difference, then there's nowhere we can go. And I know you're not playing that game. It's not in your nature to play that kind of intellectual argument. I know that's not what you're doing. So you already have the answer to the question you pose. I'm pretty certain of that you don't actually truly have the question that you're saying. Over and over, we keep talking about the center of consciousness. Well, when you come to the center of consciousness and in direct experience, in your own direct experience, you come to understand the nature of Atman, then comes the insight that I am Atma Brahma, that the Atman, the center of consciousness within me, is one with the infinite ocean of consciousness. Then and only then, as a realized yogi, then and only then can I really make the statement that I am in the container of Atman, or I am in the container of Brahman. And if without the direct experience, then we're just being philosophers or intellectual protagonists or something like that. And I know that's not, I know you're not trying to play that. So you already have the answer to your own question, I'm pretty sure. Tell me if I'm wrong, and I'll try it again. Anyway, say something wise, Ma, before I get in trouble.
I was thinking that, again, I was thinking about one of the words I like to use personally is that there is a paradigm shift. First, because we are doing these practices from avidya, we're still in avidya. So this, we believe this is who I am. And so Atman is in here. And yet eventually, not at first, of course, it starts to be philosophical, but then gradually it starts to be gradual direct experience to see that Atman is wearing a body so it can play in the waking state. So I think it all doesn't matter. Just be very clear of where we are at and where it is going, and that there's no conflict in holding both at the same time.
Yeah. Anyway, when I had the idea of having some conversation here about crucibles of yoga,
Yes.
it was in the spirit of being very practical, because when somebody contacts me and wants to tell me how bad life is and how much depressed they are and how much suffering they are, at those moments that person has virtually always completely lost touch with any sense of being Atman. They are not speaking from the standpoint of Atman. They're speaking from the standpoint of avidya and being lost in the world. And if I just say, well, you're suffering from avidya, it serves no purpose. It just comes back on me that you're being an asshole because you're not listening to me. This happens over and over and over again. Nobody ever confronts me because they're being too much in contact with Atman. I've never had that happen. People get depressed and confused. It's a very common word that comes in a Facebook message or an email. I'm feeling confused about blah, 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 blah. And I sit there, I know they're confused because they think that they're a this person or that or the other. And so this crucible, I was wanting here to talk about this simple, very, very practical, very, very down-to-earth principle that the container, the crucible in which we are doing meditation and in which we are doing contemplation, these practices, this is the container. It's not in an ashram. It's not in a restaurant. It's not in a gymnasium. It's not in those places, it's in here. Now this totality of me operates out in the world. I ride my bicycle, I walk down the street, I drive my car. I, as a totality, go to all these places. If your teeth are bothering you, I've actually had people send me emails. I have a toothache. What meditation can I do to deal with my toothache?
Dental meditation.
I say, go to the dentist. You know, I'm having this pain or suffering in my body. I'm having this emotional problem. Have you been to counseling? Have you talked to a good doctor? Have you talked to a doctor like a Rojo who is well versed in diet and health and meditation, well-rounded doctor? Have you done those things? No. I just want a mantra to cure my disease.
I normally don't have play with words, but when you said is there meditation for some of your teeth, I was thinking of transcendental. That was
transcendental. Yeah, there you go. There, Ma. That's very good. You're just sharper than me. You're quicker.
That was one of the first times I had one of those jokes. I was waiting for Johnny actually to make some, like,
Yeah, where's Johnny?
transcendental meditation, right? So.
Is there a different practice when someone starts experiencing samskaras? I mean, does a person need to meditate more than the beginning period? Is there a practice to deal with samskaras? Yes, Nilesh, I don't mean to be an obnoxious asshole in saying this back to you, but yes, there is. It's called yoga in the traditional sense of the word yoga. I don't mean go to a gymnasium and do a physical class. This is the entire subject of yoga. Patanjali defines yoga as yogash chitta vritti nirodha. That is dealing with the samskaras. Is there a different practice when someone is experiencing samskaras? Yes. That's the whole journey is about samskaras.
Fish asking what is water.
It's like what?
It's like fish asking.
It's like fish asking what is water, says Joe. That's a nice, I like that. It's nice and sarcastic, but it's true, I think. I don't know what that symbol is, June. It doesn't show up.
Laughing, like rolling and laughing. So it's LOL.
It looks like two little boxes to me.
Oh no! I saw it. For those. I have to go switch over to the Facebook when I see the icon is like.
So Johnny, is that an icon or I?
Johnny just has I.
Johnny just said I. That's either Johnny being profound or he hit the enter button too soon.
We shall see if that letter was the case, then he'll probably do it again.
Anyway, aside from all of the other conversations or observations that we can make, I'll make my last appeal to you, that there is something of value in contemplating on this nature of the crucibles of yoga. When I go into the crucible in which I do my sadhana is interior, in here, antakarna, the inner instrument. That's where we do yoga, crucibles of yoga. But if I, as a total person, am in the donut store or in the dentist office or in the shopping center or on the beach with a few thousand other people, wherever I am in life, if I'm in my car driving down the road, I'm in a different crucible. How do I do yoga here in this other crucible? Why the meditation is required as a food for that contained in the box, please. I have no idea what that means, Ratan. I'm sorry, I don't. I have no idea what you just said. Do you understand it, Mom?
No.
Can you try and say it again in some other words? Anyway. Meditation is simply the process of going inside of the container and awakening to the center. And if we don't want to call that meditation, we can call it anything we want. But this is the process. It's receding inward because you see, we are this and we have emerged outward. And every time we move outward, another veiling of avidya or ignorance occurs. And we forget and we forget and we forget and we forget and we forget. And all of a sudden, I am out here as a person. And I meant to say why meditation is required for Atma. Try to find some other way. I mean, I admit that that's a little bit of a sarcastic comeback on my part, but if you have fallen asleep and forgotten that you are Atman, what other suggestion can be given other than wake up? Fool, wake up, you have fallen asleep. Over and over, the message of the yogis is wake up, wake up, wake up. You have fallen asleep into the deluded notion that who you are is a rattan. And on and on. I think he asked why meditation is needed when all is one. That's a good guess, June. You're more perceptive than me. You're a mother, so you have this kind of perceptions that are innate to you.
There's a whole stream of people that say you don't have to meditate because you all have to realize that all is
There are many people around who say that, and what that becomes is an intellectual belief system. It means I've studied the book and I intellectually can pass the examination in my college class, and I can understand the statement that all is one, so since everything is all in one, I don't need to do anything. Then why the hell are you suffering? Buddha said it so utterly simply and clearly. We don't have to become a Buddhist. We don't have to be a follower of Buddhism. We don't have to go to a crucible called a Buddha temple. We don't have to worship a Buddha statue in the Buddhist temple. The wisdom says there is suffering. That's the first noble truth. And the person who is the intellectual giant who is able to get on Facebook or do email fighting and say, I don't need to do anything like this. I've had people attack me for talking about meditation and this stuff because they're of the opinion that they are already one. Then why the hell are they
attacking you?
Why are they attacking me? Why are they so pissed off?
They're one.
Because they're suffering.
Yeah.
And I'm just quoting the Buddha. But the dude was right. We use slightly different words. We use the words klishta, colored thought patterns. We use raga and devesha, attraction and aversion. What do we try to cultivate? Vairagya, non-attachment. We try to turn klishta vrittis into aklishta vrittis. Those are just subtler explanations of the same core yogic principle that Buddha so beautifully said in his first noble truth. There is suffering. Number two is it has a cause. Number three is that the cause is desire, which means klesha, which means samskaras. All a samskara is a recognition, a memory trace that is colored. This is the problem with the donut store. We have been talking about donuts in our satsangs for quite a few years here because there literally is a Dunkin' Donut store, about a 2-minute walk away from the ashram. It's just right there. When we go out walking and we walk out the door of the ashram, go down our road, just over there to our right is the donut store. So the problem is not that we don't see a person walking along eating their donut and Matri looks at me and says, Swamiji, what was that thing that guy was holding in his hand? I say, I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. What do you think it was? She said, I don't know. I can't figure out what it looked like. Well, it was round and it had a kind of hole in the middle.
It was a cinnamon.
And it was shiny. And it seemed to have some powdery something on it. I don't know what that is.
That's fine.
We recognize what it is. We know what it is. That is what Patanjali calls a mere memory. In around Sutra 6 or 7, he outlines different kinds of thought. One is a mere memory. One is an accurate perception. Oh, I recognize that. It is a donut. That is a correct observation. And it is a mere memory. But the thing that causes it to be troublesome is the incorrect perception that it is good. And that good is not about the quality of the donut. It's about my samskara. Why is it a samskara rather than just a memory? Because it is klishta. It is colored with raga. And if this raga is strong enough, we call it addiction. And then in our modern vernacular, unfortunately, we refer to that as a disease. And then you go to the addiction treatment centers and they say you have an addiction that is treatable only by God. May you find him now. And now you have to go to Donuts Anonymous meetings for the rest of your life. You're never going to learn how to turn your klishta vritti into an aklishta vritti. But it all comes back to the simplicity of Buddha's comment of the third noble truth, that there's suffering, it has a cause, and the cause is desire. The cause is the samskara. And so why do we do meditation? You don't have to do meditation. You can live with every addiction you have. You're welcome to live with every false identity that you have. Every one of us are completely free to live in misery and suffering the whole rest of our lives until our karma catches up with us and we drop dead for one reason or another. Maybe we die from our donut addiction and we don't even know it. We don't even know it. I remember a year or two ago, Rojo told me almost with tears in her eyes of one of her ex-patients who she tried to talk to about his health and changing his dietary patterns. And he said, I don't have time now. I had things going on in my life. He did not have time. A few months later, he was dead from a heart attack. And I remember when Rojo told me that, it was a sad thing for her to be in front of. Part of her was asking, I wonder if I could have said something different. And no, it's a man who had the good fortune of being in front of somebody that says, you can make changes. It's effectively being the Buddha saying, there is a cause to your suffering, sir, and it can be changed. And the guy saying, no, thank you. I'm not going to change. I'm too busy. Okay, fine. Here's the karma. Here's the consequence. Boom, you're dead. You get reincarnated. You can try again.
Maybe.
Huh?
Maybe.
Maybe.
If you're human, otherwise.
Most oftenly, God is searched in churches and others still, nobody claims to see it. Yes, this is part of what I'm trying to talk about here, Ratan. What crucible in which are we going to look? If you look at the church in the West, the most known religion in the West is called Christianity. In the book, I have read the book. Not too long ago, somebody started a Facebook Messenger fight with me. And in the middle of the conversation, he said, have you read the Bible? And I said back to him, I said, of course I have read the Bible. I don't think he has. But the book itself, I'm not a Christian. I am not a Christian. But you're mentioning churches. There are 7 Christian churches within 3 blocks of our ashram here in all directions. I've counted them. There's 7 of them. The book, their Bible, the book says the kingdom of God is to be found within. It does not say, now the people may believe this, the kingdom of God is not to be found in that bricks and mortar building just down the street. That's not where you find God. You say most oftenly, Ratan, most oftenly God is searched in churches. I completely agree that most oftenly that's what happens. We as yogis are not looking in the churches for God. We are looking, if you want to follow the instructions of the leader of the churches, read the instructions very, very carefully and follow them. It says there, and this is only one religion, the kingdom of heaven is found within. It says, seek first the kingdom of heaven. It does not say, and the kingdom of heaven is to be found in the Catholic Church or the Lutheran Church or the Methodist Church or the Baptist Church. It says is to be found within. So for those who want to talk about what the churches say about finding God, it is within. And when we raise the God question, there's a whole other subject that comes up there. What is the meaning of the word God? Is God a bearded man in the sky kind of being? Or is God a nomenclature, a word that is described that means ultimately the one absolute non-dual reality? And if one approaches it that God is a being, then the setup is to follow this church but not that church, and that my God is the correct one and you're going to burn in hell because you have the wrong God. Somebody who views it from the other perspective says there's only one infinity, and the God I believe in is infinity, and therefore nothing, nobody is excluded from that. And this is one absolute reality if we insist on personifying God in churches and all that. So we have a choice. Depending on our own personal perspective, we may walk into any building we want. We can search for God in the car oil change place. We can go to the furniture store and look for God. We can go to the donut store and find God. We can go to the restaurant next door and look for God. Now, if we are a yogi and we understand some of these principles that we keep talking about, and we are living and practicing that, we will walk into any one of those places and we will relatively easily see God right in front of us, because we are seeing that one consciousness animate outward through every one of those individual people. Sort of, that's kind of getting to the end of my rant. Ma, if you would you go find your picture that you made of all those faces? And I don't mean put it up here, but maybe post it later. I would post it here if I had thought of it and I knew where to do it. Matri made a beautiful, she's very creative, as you know, and she made a picture. I'm looking at one on the wall over here right now. Let me see if I have the ability to pick this up and walk it over here so you can see it. But it captures this principle. Don't take it off the wall because it's pinned up there. I'm going to try this. Let me see if I can do this.
You know, Swami, I don't think people, because not that only people look for God in the wrong places. They just simply.
I'm trying to change the screen here and it won't change it. Something's wrong. What?
I just posted it.
Okay, somebody can see it there. I can't, the Be Live is not working properly. I'm going to take you out of the picture here if I can. It won't let me do anything on the command. I'm not sure it's going to even allow me to end. Somehow it's frozen. I can't see this as I put this here, but there, if I put that like that, you can kind of look at it a little bit and maybe see it. And what it is a whole bunch of human pictures. And over a Swami Rama quote that says, the absolute smiles through the human being. Wise is he who knows that a human being is the shrine of the Lord, and the inner dweller in him is the Lord of life and love. And so that's a picture that Matri made, and she has just posted it in our thing there. So that holds the principle. And then we each get to decide for ourselves what perspective we have on the meaning of words such as God. And if we think of God in that kind of way, then I don't know what's goofy here. Oh, I know, I was pushing that wrong. Let me try it again, see if I can give you a bigger picture here. There we go. I was touching the screen as if I had a touchpad, and I don't. I just blanked out for a moment. So here, let me give you all this again. There it is. There it is. That's kind of full screen. Anyway, so it's a beautiful symbol of that principle. So if you and I have an understanding that there is universal consciousness, and a word like God refers to that rather than one man in the sky, so we can have wars over whether my guy is right or your guy is right. If we have this kind of perspective, then we can go into any one of these crucibles and we see God everywhere. But if we want to actually find that God within, that process of turning within is called meditation. That's just what it is. So do we have to meditate? No, we do not have to meditate. We don't have to do anything. We can live with 100% of our addictive behaviors if we choose. It may kill the physical body, but we may die happy in our ignorance. But the choice rests with every one of us.
Yeah.
God is cause of everything around, and effect cannot know cause. Okay, then fine. Then set aside everything about you that is under the category effect. That's the key principle. If you want to know God, if you say God is the cause of everything and I cannot experience that, then you're screwed. Then you are absolutely lost in being a blind religionist. And then all you can do is say, my religion is right and those other people is wrong, and let's have a war and I'm going to kill you. If you're meaning that in a deeper sense, then the key, Ratan, of what you are saying is set aside effect. And effect is 100% of the identities of who you think you are. If you set aside all of the effects, you will uncover the cause. And the cause is the one infinite consciousness that is within. And if you call that God, then again, to borrow from the Christian people, then you, like their teacher, will end up saying, behold, I and my Father are one. Which does not mean I'm the only dude out of the 8 billion people on this planet. I'm the only one that is the Son of God. No, that's a symbol, and I too am God. Now, a lot of the religious people don't like that, but we all get to choose. And so, Inika, have to go. We have to go too. It's time to go. We've gone over a couple minutes, and I don't want to overbeat the dead horse. And so, play with it. Anyway, remember, the thing that I was hoping we would touch on here today and would be useful is crucibles of yoga. The main crucible in which you and I do our yoga processes is start from the effect out here. This is the crucible, and go within. This is the crucible. It's not in the buildings. And then when we go into any other place or container, there we will be able to practice yoga. All of us can do it. Anyway, so drop your mind. Drop your mind, Ratan. Listen to your own words. Look back at your own words. You just said it, Ratan. God is beyond the scope of the mind. So the solution is drop the mind. Go beyond the mind. There's no escaping that. Thanks for playing, Wouter. And thanks for letting me play with Wouter, the saxophone player. That's fun. And Raj, let's let Raj have the last word here that summarizes it all, sums it all up. There is the journey, Ratan. There is the journey. Om. The God is to be found after the Om. But we have to, borrowing Patanjali's suggestions, we have to do these practices with a good attitude for a very long time with no break. It's in the Yoga Sutras. Just because it's there doesn't make it true, but it is true. Okay, so bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for visiting. Thank you for playing.
Have a wonderful day.
And have a wonderful, wonderful what, Ma?
Day and meditation.
Have a wonderful day and a wonderful evening and a wonderful morning and a wonderful, wonderful meditation. And Johnny says over and out. And we still have Raj Om. Thanks for playing, Ratan, and sticking with me with that little bit there. I appreciate you sticking with it, okay? I know you're okay. I know you understand what you're talking about, and that's cool. But we have to talk about these things like that, and then we go from there. Okay. Hi, Sahil.
Hi, Sahil is here.
Sahil is here. So again, Raj has said Om, and then we'll go into the silence after the Om. Okay? Om. Tat Sat.